Hi, Amelia. So I was keen to share some of your journey of training with me to other people. You are one of my clients who has worked online as well as face to face. And you've gone through lots of different journeys in your training, from just trying it out to setting goals and doing midnight walks and runs. You started off not really running. So how long have we worked together for?
I think it was about 2008.
Yeah, I think you're right. And can you remember why you started doing personal training? Or because it was personal training back then, really, wasn't it?
It was, but it came actually out of I did a Pilates class at Winchester College, and you were standing in for the normal teacher, and your Pilates was rather more robust than the lying around breathing, which obviously is the sort I like mostly. So I asked you whether you did any one-to-one stuff, and that's kind of how it started. And you started coming here to so then it was always quite Pilates based rather than P or PT or whatever.
Why do you done Pilates in the first place? Had you got issues like back problems, or was it just something?
Not particularly, but after I'd had Gabriel, I wasn't in a great state, so I'd done quite a lot of one-to-one Pilates where I'd lived in London, and it was sort of Pilates for life. So just making you stronger, so that all those things that you did with a small child, like pick them up and all that sort of thing, it wasn't really Pilates for its own sake. It was to be useful. And so I was used to doing that, and it was more about keeping that up.
And then over the years, because that's 12 years ago. So over the years, though, our goals, as it were, have changed, haven't they? Because Gabriel is now
17 and taller than me.
Yeah. So in the beginning, so in the early days, we were working on that, and then over the years, we've worked on getting a bit stronger. You've got a treadmill and bike at home now, haven't you?
Yes. I mean, I think it probably started we must have actually met slightly before that, like autumn 2007. And then we both got dogs at the same time.
Yes, we did.
So we then both became more oriented to walking. And I think I found that I really, really, really liked walking. I like the rhythm, and I like that sort of getting out of the house in that sense. And then I think almost the first goal was the whole midnight marathon in London.
That's right.
So in fact, most of the training for that I couldn't do with Lily because I had to walk on roads and things. So it wasn't actually that great for her, but that was doing quite long distances. And so being fit, but also all those things that get knackered by walking, like your knees and things. So making sure that I was sufficiently strong in the right way for that.
And I guess you've come along my biomechanics journey as well, haven't you? Because I trained in that in 2010, or started training then, and so that so I've been able to work with you along those lines too.
Yeah, exactly. And it's got the way, obviously I can't talk about for other people, but the way we train together, it's become much more holistic. It's become less about diet and things, and more about the body and the way it holds together. And so it's strengthening, but it's also very often about stretching to achieve the strengthening, or vice versa.
Well, absolutely. And I would say that you have adopted a lot of, I'd say in the time I've got to know you, you've made quite a few changes to your lifestyle and your diet, and you're much more conscious of your sleep patterns and what goes into being health from a all around perspective. So how have you found this lockdown and the online training?
I think it's kind of fine. No, it's good actually. But then not sure I'd feel the same way if I didn't already know you, because you've kind of got to know how people work and the rhythms they work. It's been I suppose it's been really good to know that you can mend me even from a distance if I do, you know, when I've run too far and my knees are a bit creaky. And that's fantastic. I think a lot of what we've all been through and doing stuff on Zoom like this means that we will all end up doing more of this than we'd ever, if you'd asked us a year ago, I think you and I would have both said, never happen.
Yeah, definitely.
And actually, I was talking to somebody who runs a shop in Winchester today who has gone from doing 10% of their sales online to 25%. And actually is never expecting it to go back. They think that's now pretty much where they are. So I think this sort of thing will become part of the norm. And it definitely opens up things because, you know, you can train on holiday, or even though it's snowing and we're all stuck in the house, or whatever it is.
Yeah, definitely. And we've done, I guess, did you have any hang-ups about it to start with? Did you have any things that you thought, oh, we'll give this a go, but I can't see it?
I'm always quite open to giving it a go. And there are some things that, I've done all sorts of weird things on Zoom, like interviewing people, which I rather assumed wouldn't work because you wouldn't be able to get the body language. Actually, it's fine.
Yeah.
You know, so I think you just kind of have to give it a go. I think what none of us allowed for is quite how knackering it is.
Yeah.
Because it is a very different skill set. And you kind of assume, because you're sitting in your own room at home, that it's all quite easy. But actually, it is quite tiring being on a screen the whole time. Yeah. Unless you're my son, in which case apparently it's absolutely fine.
Exactly. So what's your feeling as far as your training for the future? Do you see yourself getting involved in more in those, you know, the outdoor goals again, getting back into the runs? And because you were doing park run for a bit, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, park run's mostly about getting up on a Saturday morning, really, because I don't really like it. It's not the people, but I'm such a whiz about slippery ground, and it goes round underneath those trees with all the tree roots, which slightly gives me the heebies. I think, and without sounding like a little old lady, I think that you get to a point where your exercise has to be useful, to the point, a bit enjoyable, but most of all sustainable. So I suspect I will carry on doing however many, you know, little runs a week, 3 runs of, I don't know, between 5 and 8K a week, and then otherwise walking. So I've all the way through lockdown, I've missed one day since the 23rd of March where I haven't done 10,000 steps.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
So that'll be, I think it's now become slightly an obsession. So I walk round and round the bedroom last thing at night if I haven't quite made it.
That's fantastic.
So I think that sort of thing. So I think that's where I am. I think I've probably, having done 2 half marathons, they were bloody horrible. And actually, I now almost feel that I run for the pleasure of running, so I don't need the goals in the same way.
Yeah. So what has inspired you? Because would you say that in the early days, we did strictly Pilates, didn't we? And I can remember having conversations about the other aspects of fitness, but it wasn't, you were bringing up a young child at the time and you were doing all the work on your house. So time was difficult. And also it was incredibly cold in that house because it didn't have heating at the time.
Still very cold in the house. Yeah. I've taken my hat off for you.
Yes. Well, that doesn't surprise me. Well, but do you have been, would you say I would say your inspirations come from being involved in raising awareness for charities and things as well. Has that been part of your
yes and no? Kind of, it was walking the dog, so being outside was really good for my head.
Yeah.
Partly was the companionship of the running with Erica.
Yeah.
which is really good discipline. And also, especially when Gabe's went away to school and there was no structure, it was important to have that to get you outside and get you going. I definitely, I mean, it keeps me fit, but I definitely run for my head, not for my arse. You know, there is no question. It's what keeps me sane.
Yeah, and then you've got involved, I guess. Yeah, and then you've got involved in doing, which a lot of people do, doing something that's organised, because that gives you a reason to.
Yeah, gives you a goal, and there comes a point of sort of, oh fuck it, I might as well have a go.
Yeah. Okay. And so what would you, if you had to sum up, or you were explaining to somebody who was a bit wary about online training or personal training at the moment, what would you have any words of wisdom or advice?
I think self-discipline is incredibly difficult, if I'm honest. You know, we all know that if there's a biscuit in the biscuit barrel, it's quite difficult to stay away from it. And we can all, which we all do, is get up in our gym kit in the morning and still be wearing it at tea time, having actually done naff all. Because you think if you're still wearing it, you might eventually get to it. So I think sometimes, in the nicest possible way, having not so exactly someone to hold you to account, but someone who you know you're going to see later in the week, just to make you think, okay, now, and then actually you do some exercise. And if you walk away from that feeling that you've moved and your joints work and a bit stretched, I think the online is helpful, because you know it's there and it works, and actually it does work really quite well.
And have you, when you've done classes and things as well in the past, haven't you, the reason for doing one-to-one, is that more convenient, or it's more
there's always the element of convenience, and it's more difficult to cancel. You can always go, oh sorry, I can't be bothered to go out to the class.
Yeah.
In terms of online, I struggle with the classes. I was doing a yoga class, which was fine, but because I was doing, she's a great teacher, but I was doing one class a week and everybody else was doing all 7 classes a week. So in fact, my one class, I was just not getting anything out of it because I was so behind everybody else. And I found that frustrating. And in that situation, it's difficult to see how something's done and no one can put you right. Not that anyone can put you right at the moment anyway. I've done some one-to-one bar classes. I'd never done bar before, and that worked quite well. Again, because, you know, she really is only looking at you. So I think online, funnily enough, the one-to-one works better. Even if it's not live, even if you're following whatever she's called, Adrienne in Texas, if it's just you and her, fun enough, that's better than trying to be part of too many people one end of a Zoom call. That's in my experience.
I think, and actually from a teaching perspective, there is a line between showing and then watching, especially when you've got a lot of people on the screen, and being an orchestrator where you are doing and people are copying. And I think when you record, because I've recorded some of my sessions to be able to give them out to people, and that is tricky because you stop teaching so much because you want to keep the flow going.
Yeah.
So I think when classes are recorded, it becomes more of a pantomime that you're following, whereas if you're not recording it, you don't worry about stopping and saying, hey, you're not doing that quite right, let's correct that. Yeah. I think what one becomes aware of when you're teaching is that if you start correcting one person, no one else can see the person because they're only looking at
it. It doesn't help. I mean, I've done another class where there's a teacher on 4 of us.
Yeah.
And that's fine, actually, because I think, you know, she has a chance to see us and there aren't so many of us and we all know each other really well anyway. So there's no sort of curiosity about who else is on it. And that's fine. Yeah,
but I do a private one like that as well, and I don't silence everybody, so they can all chat too, and so it's interaction. It serves a different purpose. I think as long as everyone's on the same page of what the purpose is, one serve then. Yeah, okay, well, that's good. I shall hope that your words of wisdom, I shall share them to whoever is interested in listening, and we will carry on our journey.
Excellent. All right then.